This is Roger Stone for American Sovereign Bullion. Since 2020, the U.S. dollar has lost over 20% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to rise. Call 844-272-2428 or go to asbgold.com now to get your free gold and silver guide and learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver delivered to your door or held in a gold IRA today. So go to asbgold.com now. Don't wait for the markets to drop. That's asbgold.com.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, President Trump says he's agreed to a double-sided ceasefire with Iran, just as it was the 11th hour, and he was set to obliterate that nation, hit all of the power plants, hit all of the bridges, saying that Pakistan presented this deal. He said, we've received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it's a workable basis on which to negotiate. It also entails that they must have complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz. And in return, he will suspend the attacks on Iran for 2 weeks, just to see if they complete their promise. Also, Israel in the last hour or two, you guys, saying it's going to abide by the ceasefire agreed to by America, that it will follow America. And also, though, it will not include Hezbollah in Lebanon, because apparently in the last little bit, Israel has been getting hit by Iranian missiles. So let's see how long this lasts. Let's see if this is legitimate. There are so many questions tonight, that is for sure. And meantime, we're also still hearing from the Democrats. So all they can say is, oh, we got to impeach Trump. This is terrible. And Chris Murphy of Connecticut says he doesn't like what Trump is even agreeing to. So Trump can't do anything right. He can't go after the terrorist regime, or he can't even try to negotiate peace with them. Damn if you do, damn if you don't, when it comes to the Democrats who just have Trump derangement syndrome. Listen to Chris Murphy, Democrat of Connecticut.
I mean, listen, who knows what's going on? Donald Trump lies every single day. Clearly, he's not telling the truth. But if you accept even part of the Iranian statement, Donald Trump has agreed to give Iran control of the Strait of Hormuz. That is extraordinary. If you go deeper into the statement from the Iranian National Security Council, they claim that Trump has also agreed to Iran's right to enrichment, to suspend all sanctions against Iran, and to allow Iran to keep their missile program, their drone program, and their nuclear program. Now, who knows if any of that is true, but if at the very least this agreement gives Iran the right to control the strait, that is cataclysmic for the world. And it is just stunning that that's where we have gotten to, that Donald Trump took a military action that has apparently, at least for the time being, given Iran control over a critical waterway that they did not have control over before the war began. So it just doesn't sound like there's actually an agreement, because what Trump is saying is totally different than what the Iranians are saying. But if Iran has the strait permanently now, what an error, what a miscalculation this entire endeavor was.
So they don't even want to see peace by Trump. Nothing he can do. And it's unclear that he would ever give control of it to the Iranians. He just wants them to relinquish control now to open it. So what do you make of his comments? There are some people. I mean, I was watching General Jack Keane tonight. He's skeptical over taking the pressure off Iran. He thinks the pressure should remain on him, which is very different than what Chris Murphy's saying. But here is Senator Richard Blumenthal, because he is blasting Trump's plan to hit the power plants and the bridges. Listen to this.
What does it tell you, and this is about kind of going forward, that this this happened, that the Iranians still have the capability to shoot down U.S. aircraft, even as the president is saying that the U.S. and Israel have obliterated this Iranian capability?
Here's what I think the stark hard truth is, that the Iranians still have the capacity to attack our aircraft, despite the claim and the boasting that we have total superiority and control of the airspace. They still have drones and missiles. We have not destroyed completely their capacity. And the really hard truth is that bombing alone can't accomplish any of President Trump's objectives here, whether it's regime change or controlling the enriched uranium or giving the Iranian people a chance at changing their regime. But what it also tells me is that we are on the precipice, potentially, of a catastrophic invasion, a operation to put troops on the ground, because none of these objectives can be accomplished by bombing alone. And that's been my fear that I've expressed repeatedly, based on the classified briefings that I've received as to what our tactics have been and could be, as well as the fact that the president has dragged us into a war that the American people don't want, without a strategy and at tremendous economic cost, but now mounting casualties among civilians as well as our own military.
Senator,
365 wounded.
I mean, what is he talking about? And now that President Trump has, in his words, the conflict's come close to a resolution, you would think they'd all be applauding and cheering. But yet they're still going back to, well, if president goes in with bombs, if he does this, if he does that, what are you supposed to do? I guess they just wanted everything status quo, and then they would have criticized him for having it be status quo. And then this is also shocking because this came before the decision came down tonight. But Congressman Jason Crow, he was part of the Seditious Six. Remember that group that came out and was asking the military to defy orders? If president gives you an illegal order, you can turn it down. Remember a couple months ago? Well, he's reemerged, Democrat from Colorado, and he was on CNN, and he was telling the military that if the president asks you to bomb tonight, you have an obligation not to follow him. I mean, this is shocking. Listen to this.
Thank you. You, of course, Congress has been briefed to a certain extent on the state of the war. Right now, the president is threatening that a whole civilization will die tonight. Do you think the president's going to follow through on that?
Well, it's a war crime. It's a very clear war crime. If he attempts to follow through on it, my message to the military servicemen and women that would have to follow through on those orders is they have an obligation to follow the Constitution and they have an obligation to follow the law.
That's amazing that he's like encouraging them to rise up against their commander in chief. I never understood how he and the others got away with saying all that before. And even Mark Kelly, remember, got away with it. It went through the courts. And they did not find that he was in violation, which was shocking to me. I think it was a D.C. jury, if I remember, or a D.C. Judge at least reviewing it. But still, they all should have been in trouble for asking them to break their commander-in-chief's obligations and his orders, to defy military orders. And now Jason Crow is reemerging with that new message yet again. It's disgusting. And again, it is anti-American, especially at a time of war like we're in right now. And speaking of crimes, by the way, Gavin Newsom's wife, you have to hear this. Everybody's talking about this tonight. I wanted to play it because it's just so shocking. Gavin Newsom's wife goes to San Quentin, and she talked to some of the inmates. Now, if you're in San Quentin, you've probably done something pretty bad. I have visited inmates in San Quentin for work, and most of them are on death row, and they're the worst of the worst. You're the kind of people you don't ever want to see, that you're glad they're locked up, and you hope they stay locked up the rest of their lives. So she goes to San Quentin, and she essentially tells prisoners, I sympathize with you. She describes how when she was very young, that she says she ran over her sister with a golf cart and killed her sister. Obviously a very sad story, and talks about how it was an accident. And then she says it's an accident like obviously you guys, like many of you guys, I'm sure what happened with you was an accident too. To murderers and rapists and some of the worst of the worst. She ran over her sister with a golf cart, and yet she's equating it to what they went through. This is bizarre. Listen to this. This is Gavin Newsom's wife. And remember, he's probably going to be running for president next time. Listen to this.
I had to be very raw when we interviewed the young men who were juvenile offenders in San Quentin. I told them about my own loss, where I lost my older sister a few days before my 7th birthday, and I blamed myself for her death. And I share that because that they ultimately were accused of committing these violent crimes and sentenced for life. And I think it shocked them that this, blonde lady who was, interviewing them had a similar story, was perhaps in the wrong place at the wrong time, but wasn't punished the way they were, because clearly it was an accident, but theirs was probably an accident too. So anyway, I share that just because I guess, I quite enjoy spending time with people and being real and unmasking and showing them that it's safe to unmask themselves.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful. Obviously, when you broke into that store and you opened fire on everybody, that must have been a mistake. And I'll equate that to running over my sister in a golf cart, is what she's saying. I mean, it's that kind of crazy behavior. Like, we all go through tough times. And this is, again, the worst of the worst at San Quentin. It just shows she is like an apologist for recidivism. She's an apologist for brutal, violent, criminal offenders. Unless there's a new wing of San Quentin, and I didn't see it when I was there visiting inmates years ago for stories that I was covering. So, I mean, this is such nonsense. Apologizing, it seems, and like commiserating with them, like, I feel your pain. You shouldn't be here just because I wasn't there, because I'm a white woman and I got away with it because it was an accident, clearly. And obviously, probably what happened with you was an accident. Murderers, rapists, and others. I mean, it's that kind of logic that creates that soft on crime policy. I mean, and that person wants to be the wife of the guy who's running for president. He's very likely, I think, going to be probably the Democratic nominee or one of the finalists. That's for sure. There's no doubt about it. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn on line 2. Norm, your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, hi, Rita. My answer to Ro Khanna, a.k.a. Neville Chamberlain 2, is just like that song you played in the break. I think it was Lynyrd Skynyrd. Can't you smell that smell? The smell of death around you? 45,000 men, women, and children, innocents murdered. Can't you smell that smell? And the 3 countries he chose that we should negotiate with. China. How many have they killed? How many innocents? Cuba. That Caribbean prison that they can't leave, and that they can't leave 40 miles from Florida, and of course Iran. Neville negotiated with Hitler, just like you would do. Disgusting.
Yeah, it is disgusting. I agree with you. It's that kind of behavior that says, oh yeah, we should be talking to them. We shouldn't be mean to them. I mean, he actually used the phrase, it was pretty incredible there, Norm, that he's actually using the phrase like this vulgar language. And yet you've got people over there, you've got a regime in there that is executing its own people. And Ro Khanna's worried about the, quote, vulgar language of President Trump, saying it will be the end of civilization. And you heard what I said. His comments, first of all, didn't age well because his very strong comments are what brought Iran, it looks like, at least to try to negotiate. Whether it's genuine or not, we'll see. But I have no doubt in my mind that if we were following, you're right, Ro Khanna, a.k.a. Neville Chamberlain's policy, they would already have a nuclear weapon. That's my feeling. That's my personal thoughts. What do you think, Norm? And how dangerous is that for the world?
Absolutely. Very dangerous. They don't learn from history. And I just don't understand. 45,000 murdered. Where the hell? How come this isn't on the cover of the Times?
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right. And why is Ro Khanna not angry at that? Why is he's more angry at President Trump for using a mean word than Iran executing 45,000 of their own people? Or how about lining today what they were doing, lining women and children up around power plants and bridges, knowing that they would put them in vital harm's way if Trump had pulled the trigger tonight at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, I mean, listen, from hearing this and seeing this, I see how they murdered my mother's family. I see it. You can create an atmosphere where innocents are taken out to the middle of a forest, like my great uncle and his wife and their 2 children, and take them out and put them in a pit and shoot them, and nobody would give a goddamn. And,
we care, Norm. We care. We care, and we can't let the history, the mistakes and the horrors of history and the evil of history repeat itself, which is why we're speaking out today. And the fact that these people are willing to turn a blind eye and slam Trump for political reasons when there is such a huge issue at stake like we're talking about, to me, it is shocking. It is a whole new low. And Norm, I'm really... thank you for sharing also again about your family, because you come from a family of heroes and they understand, sadly, the sacrifice of war. As you understand, you know my family too. Norm, we love you. It's always great hearing from you. We're going to continue your calls, everybody, after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.
TaxAct knows every small business owner has different tax filing needs. With TaxAct, you can file yourself with the help of an expert, or TaxAct can do it all for you. You're the boss, the head honcho, the top banana. And TaxAct is like your loyal, trusty tax aide, ready to pounce on any tax needs you might have. TaxAct is dying to pounce on some small business tax needs. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And let's continue with your calls tonight. President Trump not bombing at 8 p.m. with Pakistan coming for Iran and trying to serve as mediator. He has agreed to a 2-week ceasefire. If they open the Strait of Hormuz, they must deliver on that at a minimum. Let's go to Stu in Brooklyn, line 1. Go ahead, Stu. Your thoughts tonight.
Hi, Rita. Rita, listening to you and some of your callers brings to mind George Santana's famous quote, "Those who forget history are condemned to repeat it." What does that mean? The Democrats that you hear, the stupid things they're saying, they're not new. They existed during the Lincoln administration. They were called copperheads, and they did everything they could to undermine Lincoln's war, the Civil War.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. You're right. They are not new. Do me a favor, Stu. Stick with us. We have a hard break here, but I want to hear more from you after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
By the time I hit my 50s, I'd learned a few things, like how family is precious. Work can always wait. And 99% of people over 50 already have the virus that causes shingles. Not everyone at risk will develop it, but I did. The painful, blistering rash disrupted my life for weeks. Don't learn about your shingles risk the hard way. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
Rita Cosby is on.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, some more details are coming out as we're talking about the threats to America. What about the threats from within? And remember those two New York bombing suspects, the teenagers that looked like they got radicalized online and through devices at that protest that was taking place near the mayor's home, Gracie Mansion in New York. The two guys, remember, you see them on videotape. You see the guy throwing the explosive device, which turned out to be an actual device. And law enforcement luckily nabbing the two guys. Well, now we're getting details about these two ISIS-inspired bombing suspects. Apparently, on dash cam footage, it shows the two of them kind of mucking it up and laughing about their ride from Pennsylvania to New York, saying that they plan to blow up white supremacist Jake Lang, and that they also wanted to injure or kill up to 60 victims, 60, both cops and civilians, that they were joking about it, that they were going there to throw this device at Jake Lang, and then they were also hoping in the process that maybe others would get seriously injured or killed, potentially dozens, maybe up to 60 or more of them. And wouldn't that be a great thing, according to these two monsters? One of them 18, one 19. They luckily have been indicted, and they are facing some very serious charges, including suspected terrorism and some very, very serious charges that are tied to it. But how horrible that indeed, as we suspected, it was obviously a planned attack, and they were laughing and kind of mucking it up on the ride and musing about different scenarios and how they could injure as many people as possible. Really scary. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And I'm very skeptical of this deal that President Trump has struck. I hope it's legit. I am praying, and I also still think that it's a good thing that President Trump at least is trying. Apparently, Iran is saying that they want to come to the table. Let's see if it's legitimate. Let's see if any of these people even have any power. We don't know. There are reports tonight that the son of the Ayatollah is incapacitated, wasn't able to deal with this deal because he's not physically well enough, according to intelligence. He's either incapacitated because he's in a coma, or maybe was so injured in that first strike that took out his father. Who knows? But there are so many unknowns. Is this legit? Are they reconstituting? Are they planning some evil attack? I wanted to play this. This is cut number 36. And this is from earlier today because the Iranian ambassador was there at the UN. And he was condemning President Trump just a few hours before they, quote, came to the peace table. Listen to this.
We have no hostilities with our neighbors. The fact is very clear that we are targeting the U.S. bases, U.S. interest, and U.S. assets in reciprocal action. In response to the representative of the United States, I only want to refer to some remarks of the U.S. President, which has initiated this war of aggression against Iran. On 21st of March, he threatened to hit and obliterate Iran's power plants. On 30th of March, he escalated these threats, vowing to blow up and completely obliterate critical infrastructure, including power plants, oil facilities, Khark Island, and desalination installation. On 1st April, he declared his intention to bring Iran back to the Stone Age, explicitly threatening to strike all electric generating facilities. On 5th of April, he again openly threatened to target civilian infrastructure, stating that Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day. There will be nothing like it. And 2 days resorted to a language that is not only deeply responsible but profoundly alarming, declaring that the whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back. Such rhetoric is unfitting of any political leader, let alone the head of a permanent member of the Council entrusted with the maintenance of international peace and security. I thank you.
And I thank you for a bunch of BS. I mean, that's the most incredible. Their regime has killed 45,000 of their own people just in recent weeks, hanging people as recently as the last few days publicly. And he's scolding President Trump for calling Tuesday Power Plant Day. What a disgrace and a disgusting group of people, which is why I'm very skeptical that there could be a peace deal with these people. I'm really skeptical. President Trump says he's going to give it a try. I applaud him for trying, but I also know that he's also, I'm sure, very skeptical as well. And for these people to sit there and say, oh, how dare he? He's about to attack infrastructure. How dare he speak beneath a leader? And you got the Ayatollah opening fire on ordering the operation of their own people. You kidding me? Of course he sponsored that. He pushed that. And they're not worried about that language. Oh, no, that language is okay. Listen to Shar Pordanesh. I interviewed him recently. He is the first Iranian to play in the NFL and has a lot of friends in Iran. And he was telling me and John Catsimatidis recently that the Iranian people are so worried when the bombs stop flying. That's what they're worried about because they will do anything for freedom. Take a listen.
Absolutely, Rita. And what's funny is when I first heard this, it kind of shocked me. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, it makes sense. The word out of Iran is, and I've heard it from my family members, when they don't hear bombs being dropped, that's when the people are getting nervous because they're saying, oh, my God, did the U.S. abandon us? Did Israel abandon us? They're happy when explosions are happening because the explosions basically shows them that the U.S. is still on their side, that we're still trying to help them. So they're getting nervous when the bombs are stopping. So the biggest fear out of Iran right now is that for some reason the U.S. is gonna leave this halfway and kind of pull out because that would be an absolute nightmare for them. The Iranian military, the IRGC, for that matter, has gone on live TV and said, just wait, when this is over, every single one of you that has been out there protesting, we're coming after you. Like, I've seen this. I've seen this out of Iranian TV. They've said this.
Yeah, these people are monsters. And that's why, look, I applaud President Trump to avoid bloodshed at any cost, but also be incredibly skeptical, as I'm sure he is. Let's go back to Stu in Brooklyn. Thanks a lot, Stu, for holding. Continue your thoughts.
Rita, the next thing you're going to love. There was a gentleman who the Pope said saved Western civilization when Islam was at the gates of Vienna. His name was Jan Sobieski.
Sobieski, he's a King of Poland. I received, by the way, the Jan Sobieski Award, and when it was one of my greatest honors, Stu.
Well, let me tell you how they were going to honor him in Vienna. They were going to build a statue in his honor. It was rejected by the Austrians because they were afraid it would stir up Islamophobia. That's what you have dealing in Europe. That's what you have dealing at the UN. And if you read about Jan and Trump, you find out that they had a lot of things in common as men. But to continue, you also had someone who talked about burning the Arabs and you can't trust them. You know, would you let him know that Persians are not Arabs? They're Persian.
Right, they're different. Absolutely. But you know what he meant. You and I both know what he meant. You know, I mean, let's just be. Would you trust the Iranian regime?
Well, Rita, you know what's going to happen. Let me lay this out. I have a little experience in this, which I won't go into. But basically, everyone is going to use the time to re-equip, rearm, and rest. I'm sure Trump has not going to leave any of the yellow cake around. One way or another, it's coming out of Iran. And as far as troops or boots on the ground, The world is very different than when it was during these wars that were in the past. You don't need thousands of troops anywhere. Now it's done with technology to a very great extent and drones. That gives you the control that used to require people on the ground. It's not necessary anymore. And as far as what the Iranians will do, they're going to look to get more Strela 2s and YJ-20s from China smuggled in to confront us with.
So
I
hear what you're saying, Stu, and I sadly think you're correct. I wish you and I were both wrong. So what do you see it being less than 2 weeks? And I guess you and I sadly both agree that it will be some sort of pivotal dismantling that will happen. I think what Trump was threatening to do at 8:00 tonight, I think it's going to happen, maybe a week from now, right? Week and a half from now. I think as soon as they violate it, if they find out that some of those weapons are brought in from China or something else happens or that they don't live up to X or they move the uranium, try to do something, I think he will go full force. Don't you? I think it's inevitable. And I wish you and I were wrong, Stu, but I have the same amount of faith in the Persians, in particular this regime, I should say, as you do. Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking Trump is a consummate showroom. What has everyone been talking about? Every station, every broadcast. He had the world in the palm of his hand, and he knows it. Everyone was waiting to see what he was going to do. And what he basically did, the main takeaway, is to get some tankers through the Gulf over to Europe to knock the price of crude down.
Yep.
So they don't hit him over the head with the high price of gas at the service station.
Yep.
That's what this is really all about.
Stu, I'm with you. I 100% agree. It's get them through, get them moving, get some of the price down, try to figure that all out, reconstitute, and then I'm coming in. So I agree with you on that one. Stu, thank you very much. Really interesting. You got to call back again. I think you are spot on, my friend. 100%. Thank you. Let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania, line 5. You just heard Stu's great analysis. I think a lot of this is exactly what he was saying, Joaquin.
I agree with him. As a matter of fact, what I was going to say is I think that Trump really is employing the wisdom of King Solomon, because how can he go in there and bomb right now when they have put all their people out as human shields? That would really work against us, So this is becoming a real 3D chess game, and I'm pretty sure that Trump is the master of it. And I think he made the right move in this situation, because how can you go in there and bomb and kill possibly more than thousands of people, that are being used as human shields?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very hard situation. And also, Trump likes the element of surprise. That's the other thing. Let's not forget, him telegraphing 8:00 tonight, even though America could still do it, clearly, as we saw even rescuing those 2 airmen, we do have, such military superiority, but it's a lot better to do it when they're not anticipating it and don't have, like you said, hundreds upon hundreds of people lining the bridges and the power plants and doing all these other things. They relax a little, Trump catches them, and then he levels it. That's my feeling. My feeling is it's just delaying the inevitable. What do you think?
I agree. I agree 100%. I think that once he lulls them into a sense of perhaps security, I don't know if I'm using the right word, that it's not going to happen, then he has the open opportunity to go and do it. And, as far as oil prices go, this whole thing, that really needs to be worked out, because it just doesn't make any sense that if we have control of oil in our own country, that I think that this oil price, John Catsimatidis actually made the great point about how this is being artificially manipulated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the ping pong. Right, the ping pong. Exactly.
Yes, and that really needs to somehow be nipped in the bud, because I came across a guy on Instagram. He made some very incredible points that if the Strait of Hormuz does not open up, what's happening is you choke the oil supply going to Europe, going to China, and going to Russia. So actually that becomes a big plus for us, because we wind up being able to sell the oil to China and to Europe and to other places. And
Right.
that puts us in control. So this actually is turning into a very interesting, shall we say, 3D chess game.
It sure is.
Beyond
And Joaquin, you left out that he's supposed to be meeting with the Chinese president, remember, next month. He delayed it, probably to see where all this was going to go. And then, of course, he's going to see by the time he goes there, he will have the upper hand, obviously, because China is closely aligned with Iran, as you bring up, too. So, I mean, there's so many factors going into this. And there's a report tonight, I think it's in the New York Times, that says that China was trying to put pressure on Iran to open the strait because they wanted their ships to go through. Not all friendly ships, only a few, very few were actually going through, even ships that they desperately wanted to go through. So, I mean, I think there are a lot of chess players behind the scenes, many more than we realize, too. And Trump is 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of everybody, I think, in this one. Joaquin, thank you. And I like the King Solomon analogy. That's a good one, my friend. And everybody, we're going to continue your calls after the break, 1-800-848-9222. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Boston, Massachusetts, where a 107-year-old World War II veteran was honored by Governor Maura Healey during a special flag presentation at the State House there in Boston. Veteran Arthur Ross survived Pearl Harbor, and he was at the Battle of Normandy. He said, "I didn't want to be there, but as long as I'm okay now, I'm glad I was, to be able to share it for history." He served as an engineer officer, making sure the landing craft tanks and their engines were operational. The landing craft tanks played a critical role as they were the boats that transported tanks to the beaches of Normandy. So a very, very pivotal role. Now he is, as I mentioned, 107 years old. He grew up in a small town in North Dakota, and he said, if somebody told me I would be with the governor on my 107th year, I would say, you are batty, but I am deeply, deeply honored. And by the way, more honors are coming for this great member of the greatest generation. Denise said that he will be heading to France to accept the Legion of Honor Award, which is France's highest honor for those who brought freedom to their country in World War II. How beautiful is that? And everybody, America's heroes, need your help. Donate just $11 a month to the incredible Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They do so much great work to help America's heroes and their families. Be sure to check them out. It's a way for you to make a difference. And boy, do our military heroes deserve our support now more than ever. Check them out at T2T.org. That's the Tunnel to Towers Foundation at T2T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
The Lincoln Spring Sales event is on now, and there's never been a better time to experience the feeling of driving a Lincoln. Pictures, sunlight through the available panoramic vista roof, music, weather, and maps on the 48-inch panoramic display, and a drive so smooth that inspiration rides up front. Stepping out better than you got in. That's the Lincoln feeling. Get behind the wheel of the 2026 Lincoln Nautilus SUV and discover exceptional offers only at your local Lincoln retailer.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And tomorrow, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, typically does her briefings on Wednesday. Let's see what she has to say. And let's see what happens in the next few hours. Will Iran stop firing on Israel? Israel also said they agree to this peace deal because President Trump, of course, is at the helm of it, and they're taking the lead from President Trump. But then they also said that Hezbollah is fair game. So what happens if Hezbollah starts firing a whole bunch, or if Iran starts really resupplying Hezbollah? I mean, there's a lot of dynamics here. This is really going to be a powerful next few days to watch. And you heard what we were talking about with Stu and also with Joaquin and so many of you others tonight. I don't trust Iran at all. They may use this time to regroup, but I do trust President Trump, and I'm sure he is well aware of that, and maybe just waiting for the moment when they break these terms, which I expect they will, and then he really will, at that point, send them to the Stone Age. That's where I think this is going. Just a brief stop and then a pummeling.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Sacco and Feliz, New York and New Jersey's premier attorneys at law. Their team brings decades of experience across a wide range of practice areas. Whatever life brings, they're your legal team. From everyday matters to complex cases, they've got you covered with the experience you need and the results you want. Because when life gets complicated, they make it simple. SaccoFeliz.com. SACCOFILLAS.com. 2 C's, 2 L's.